psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about hitting plateau during your transition, what that means when you hit plateau, why plateau tends to happen, and if there's anything you can do about the time period. Now, plateau or standstill or coming to a period in your transition where you feel like nothing is happening, that's usually the feeling, happens pretty much to everybody. I have yet to see a person who has not really hit that period of plateau. Plateau tends to seem to be an inevitable part of transition, and I'll explain to you why it's actually a really important part of your transition and why it needs to happen. Plateau period, to give you a much more deeper example, is a period of time when and remember, transition for all of you is going to look very different, right? So everybody undergoes different elements of transition because it is highly individualized process. But usually in the beginning, what happens is that we realize our true authentic self and we decide to do something about it. And the first step is usually coming out to loved ones, coming out to our family, coming out to friends, followed by some form of medical intervention. For a lot of people, that would be starting hormones, followed by other forms of transitionary aspects, hair removal through laser or electrolysis, voice feminization or voice masculization training, expressing yourself in the clothing that is closely reflects your gender, changing pronouns. All of those things usually start up. They're usually the igniters of transition phase, right? So usually ignite things to put the fire underneath you. As a result of starting all of the things, a lot of you feel a combination of things. Often it is excitement, nervousness, fear, apprehension, and also euphoria. I will do a different video on euphoria because euphoria is a broad subject and you experience euphoria at different stages in transition. Here you experience one element of euphoria, at least some of you experience one element of euphoria. That's when you feel kind of like on a cloud nine, a deeper connection to your authentic self. And this sense of euphoria is a really good thing in the beginning because it's a really great indicator that you are on the right path and that everything you're doing is the right thing to do. It's very affirming actually. So experiencing all of the things. One of the common things that a lot of you experience is a sense of control. It's a sense of finally taking control of your life, taking control of your sense of self, doing something about your dysphoria, and it's a great and empowering feeling. So here you are, you started your transition, you ignited it, the fire is going, you feel really excited. Of course, there's challenges for a lot of you that come up, but nonetheless, this feeling of control is there. And you continue on that path and you continue to climb up until you hit the plateau, you hit the standstill, or you hit what I also like to call is a dip. You hit this time period where you feel that nothing is happening. Either nothing is happening quickly enough, and as a result of the standstill, a lot of feelings tend to come up. One of the things that tends to come up is you start to question yourself again. Oh my God, is this the right thing? Will this ever happen to me? Will I ever really achieve my true gender? Will I ever achieve the congruence I'm seeking? This is not happening fast enough. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can go through this. All of this fear and doubts tend to come up during the standstill, and it's meant to be really there twofold. One, it meant to be there because it's a really good time period before you move further into any kind of surgical intervention to really affirm to yourself that you're on the right track and to really kind of to do a U-turn, if you will, into your deeper self to confirm for yourself that you are really doing what you're intending to do. And two, you have to remember that all of these fears and this negative self-talk that also rising in your head a lot of times has to do with the sense of being out of control, sense of feeling that you're hopeless and helpless because now, whereas in the beginning, right, when you started, you had that sense of control. The ignition was there, the fire was going. Now the fire is dying out. It's dying out and you don't have any wood to throw on a fire, right? Imagine that the wood is an analogy for things you would do in your transitionary steps. For example, a wood could represent starting hormones, expressing yourself, coming out. Well, you already have done all of that. So you already used up all of your wood. So there's nothing to throw on a fire. So as a result, your fire is not burning as much as it did in the beginning. So you're starting to lose your faith. You're starting to question things. So that's also what's happening right here. It's a period where you're starting to really engage in a lot of self-doubt and second guessing and wondering if you're doing the right thing. What you really need to keep in mind is that just because the fire is not burning as high doesn't mean it's not burning at all, right? So keep in mind that this is very analogous to gardening, right? So when we start gardening, we go out there and we plant our seeds, right? And we irrigate and we set everything up, and we use the right fertilizer, and we water, and we do everything right, and we buy the best soil. And then we hit plateau in the garden too. Why? Because we have to wait for the fruits of our labor to come to fruition, right? So we have to wait. There's waiting period that happens. You don't really see a farmer panicking during the waiting period. They have faith that what they've done is the right thing and that they've done every steps correctly. You don't see farmers running out and throwing out more seeds and throwing out more more watering more, or throwing out more fertilizer, hoping that things are gonna, grow up quicker. They patiently wait because they know that the cycle of plateau is necessary. And even though on the surface it doesn't look like nothing is happening, underneath things are always happening. Same thing with your transition. It may seem like nothing is happening, but something is definitely happening. Remember, where you at in the point of plateau is miles away from where you started, okay? So remember that the thread, you have planted all of the seeds, and now you have to be patiently wait. And if I get to meet the more patient people than people who are struggling with gender dysphoria, I have yet to meet them. But remember, guys, you have all waited 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years dealing and struggling with gender dysphoria until you have decided to do something about it. Talk about cultivating and practicing patience. If you waited that long, you owe it to yourself to give yourself this, to sit out this plateau period and be patient with it. Now, this plateau period could take 6 months, 12 months, could take a year and a half for some people. Everybody's circumstances is different, but you have to respect the plateau period, and you have to have faith that what you're doing is accumulating and compounding. Remember, you're not just doing nothing. You're also engaging in other things. You're continuing to take hormones, okay? And just because it doesn't seem like nothing is happening, it will. You continue to practice maybe your voice masculization or feminization. You continue to go through hair removal process. You continue to engage in maybe therapy to integrate your inner parts of yourself. All of those things are accumulating, and you're just waiting for the harvest so you can reap your rewards. Now, this plateau period, right, the standstill, tends to happen for 3 reasons that I tend to observe. Of course, there's a lot of other reasons, but the 3 main reasons that it tends to happen to is why, 1, the plateau happens because you truly done everything you needed to do, and now it's really just a matter of waiting. And there's nothing we can do about time. Time is really our best friend here, and the best thing is just to sit it out. The second reason why plateau tends to happen is because now you've done everything right, but you're waiting on other people around you. So the other people around you are usually surgeons. That means that your surgical transition is now in a waiting period because you are either waiting to meet a year on hormone mark for WPATH guidelines in order to go through surgery, or you're waiting for a surgeon because a surgeon you picked is booked 6 months or 12 months in advance. Maybe you're waiting for your insurance approval to go through. Maybe you're waiting on money to come in. So it's usually the second period of plateau is now dependent on other people. It's that you're ready, but you're waiting for other people to get ready. And the third group is that you're waiting now on people who are even closer to you. If you're in a relationship, you could be hitting plateau because you're waiting for your spouse to catch up to where you're at. Or your partner to catch up to where you're at. You could be waiting for your children to kind of catch up to where you're at. You could be waiting for other intimate people in your life to catch up to where you're at. Because remember, when people transition in a context, in a group of other people, a lot of times what they do is they find the pace that works for you and the pace that works for them. So that way we don't drop and lose people in the process. And sometimes it can be frustrating because here you are, you're eager and you're ready, but you have to wait maybe for your partner to really adjust to what's happening. But at the same time, it's essential compromise because in the end, you want to end up being with the same partner and not alone. Hopefully, if your goal is to be with that person, right? So that's the 3 main reasons why the plateau tends to happen. Plateau is inevitable. Listen, it's essential because we planted something. We have to be prudent. We have to wait. We have to now take care of our harvest, right? And taking care of our harvest means in this process, take care of yourself. We need to be able to go out there and eat well and exercise, take care of our health. If surgical transition is in the cards for you, get yourself prepared so you're all ready for surgical transition. Do other things. This is a great period to work on integrating your inner sense of self. It's a great time period to work on any internal transphobia, to excavate it, to clean it out. So it's a great period for a lot of things. It's a great period to also focus on other things in your life. But it's an essential period because we can't go through transition without experiencing plateaus. Things don't just catapult like this. Even for people who do have resources, even for people who have all the money in the world, plateau does happen because especially if people who identify as trans women, the plateau is highly inevitable because you have to wait for the hair removal process and that takes time. You have to wait for the voice training for a lot of people and that takes time. You have to wait, even when you go through the surgery, right? You have surgery, let's say you have a facial feminization, a facial masculization surgery. Just to give you kind of one surgical example, there's still time period where you hit a plateau where you're waiting for the changes to settle in, the recovering period. So that standstill is inevitable. Transition is never really one big upward climb. It's usually it's non-linear, it's usually all over the place. But the important thing is that if you were to graph it out, you're constantly slowly climbing upwards. Now remember, you have spent a lot of time dealing with dysphoria before you decided to do something about it. How long is transition going to take for most of you? Okay, let's just think about it realistically. Let's just think of this from a practical standpoint. Some elements of transition, of course, will take longer, but a lot of the elements are going to take at least 2 years, right? We're talking about hormones that are highly accessible to a lot of people. We're talking about feminizing or masculinizing yourself or presenting in any other kind of gender diverse way through clothing or through behavioral modification. All of those things not going to take you 20 years. They're not going to take you even 10 years. They shouldn't even really take you 5 years. So we're really not talking about this huge time period of your life. You have to understand that we're devoting time of ourselves to better ourselves, right? This is also a medical treatment. Medical treatments seldom happen immediately. There's sometimes hiccups. And plateau, in my experience, is a very healthy, very good hiccup because it's a time to cultivate your patience. It's time to step back and to say that just because I don't see changes happening doesn't mean that they're happening. They're definitely happening. Remember, you're compounding, you are accumulating things, and they are going to be there. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, trust that what you're doing the right thing, and hopefully you're also working with a team of people and specialists who are helping you with this process, who know what they're doing as well, and that will make you trust the process even that much more. But plateau is going to be there. It's that feeling of out control. I know that for people who are especially do not like to be to feel the sense of out of control, this can be a very frustrating period, right? This can be a period as if there's nothing for you to hold on to, and there's a lot of things you can still do about it because remember, you're really not out of control. You are very much in control of your life because you are doing something about the biggest element of your life, and that is gender dysphoria. So there you go. Plateau is important. It's going to happen to pretty much all of you. It's essential. When you hit it, it doesn't mean that nothing is not happening. It doesn't mean that you are never going to achieve your goals. Is it time for introspection and to reassess that you're on the right path? Yes. Is there also time to get out of your head and not to trust all of the self-doubts and all the fears that you had is coming up with? Yes. It's time for a lot of things. It's time to look over your land, to everything you planted, and to dream and imagine the results and the harvest it's going to bring. So comment below, those of you who are transitioning and have hit the plateau, what does it feel like for you? What are your frustrations right now? If you have transitioned, of course, you know this period of standstill, you had it, you know how frustrating it is. Share with others what help you to go through this process. And hopefully everybody can learn from there. And I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.